Hello, everyone. My name is Bozz Salizzoni. I am the EMA Director for Hocking County. I'm coming to you today to talk to you about what to do to be prepared. The introduction to this is to help us what to prepare for, when are we preparing, how are we going to prepare, and why are we making a plan? So let's start off with the easiest question. What are we preparing for? This is something we all need to think about. Is it a natural disaster, a human disaster, war, rioting, or something along those lines? This is something we need to understand. What are we actually going to be planning for that we're preparing ourselves, our lives, or families for? So when are we going to prepare? What do you want to prepare for? What time of the year are we preparing for? That takes into a lot of considerations, because if we're preparing for summer, we may need to prepare water and food differently than what we would do if it was winter. If we're preparing winter, we can prepare differently because we could sometimes store the food outside to keep it from going bad compared to the summer. Are we preparing for fall? A little better temperatures, a little cooler temperatures. Are we preparing? What are we going to need to prepare for that? Or even spring? We got to take into consideration what we're preparing for and when we're preparing and what we want to prepare. So as we move on, how are we going to prepare this? Are we going to store food, get our stores and our storage areas set up so that we could have a lot of food prepped, gathering the food, gathering clothing? Do we want to gather camping supplies that we may have to go out and be in the elements? Again, if we're going to be in the elements for a period of time, what elements are we preparing for? Summer, winter, spring, fall? We need to make sure we have the proper gear and making sure that our camping supplies and things that are ready. But ultimately, why are we making the plan? Are we making the plan to protect our family and friends? To survive the apocalypse? Or making a plan to survive a pandemic, which we're all in the middle of today. We're still in this pandemic, and we're all trying to prepare because we've all seen what's happened in the past. Hoarding of essentials, hoarding of product, and having stuff just leave the store shelves. So what do we need to do? What are we preparing, and why are we making this plan? But for today, let's start with something simple. When we're preparing, we also need to understand our area. Understanding the area where you live, what the weather conditions could be for that area, where you live. Also, we need to understand what weather conditions may be when and where you travel to. So if you leave Hocking County and we go south out of Ohio State down south into the southern borders, we're going to have different weather and different conditions to prepare for. We need to consider what we have. Now, some people would go coastal. We may have to prepare for flooding. If we're going west, we may have to prepare for a different type of weather conditions. So understanding the areas we're going into, understanding the areas we live in, understanding that information to help us just prepare. We also need to consider our family's needs. If you're by yourself, you can do a whole lot more, and you'll prepare a totally different way compared to going with your family. Do you have small children that you have to prepare different things? Like if you have infants that are still in diapers, you got to have diapers and formula and things to keep them safe, compared to teenagers, which can carry their own gear and do things like that. So always having the proper things in place. Also, when you're traveling and you're going to different areas, you may want to have your driver's licenses always on hand, passports, specific medical documents or medical prescriptions, always being prepared with your family. So having those medical importance, those documents, because you never know what may happen, you're being prepared, preparing yourself. You also may want to have your, again, your ID and documentation together, but you also may want to have a plan together. Having this family emergency communication plan in case you get separated, having that plan in your hand, in your books, in your pockets, and going over this with your children and your family so they all understand. So if you're in a different state or different location, you know what to do. You have the phone numbers written down. Your kids have a copy of them. You have a copy of them. If you were to get separated, they know who to contact. They know who they need to reach out to. We do a lot of this ourselves through FEMA. FEMA can help you with this. So moving forward, writing down information and keeping that at home as well. Your household information, your school information, your child care, caregivers, workplace emergency plans, having those all together will help. Family communication plans. We do this with kids during Kid Palooza. We send a lot of this home with kids to help prepare them and what to do and how to prepare the family. What happens if there's a catastrophe comes in and wipes out your home and the kids need to go somewhere? Where's the meeting spot? Draw the map. Say, okay, here's our house. If something happens, we all need to meet here at point A. If we can't get to point A, everyone needs to go to point B. Always have a contingency. Always being prepared. The communication plan. This is the biggest thing. A lot of people fail to communicate. We fail to communicate, and we just need to be able to communicate with our family, with our friends, making sure people understand, hey, I'm leaving town this week. I'm going to be gone. I should be home in 2 days. If you're not home in 2 days, what do you want me to do? That's communication. That's how we are able to help keep people safe and keep them prepared to what were to happen. Preparing is a larger thing than just, oh, well, we're going to plan to go to the beach. We're going to drive there. We're going to get in the hotel room or the beach house, and we're going to live in the beach house for a week. There's more to it. We need to plan it out a little bit more specifically. What are we going to do if the weather turns bad? What do we do if there's a hurricane that comes in if we're at the beach? If we're out west, what do we do when there's a blizzard? What are we going to plan? So one of the things we tell people is create a go bag. Always have a go bag. Have a bag prepared with different things for the different times of year. And you may have to update this go bag on a quarterly basis. You go in and say, okay, it's coming winter. I need to put in wool socks and gloves and toboggans and have things in there to keep me warm if I have to go out in the weather, into the cold weather. In the summer, you may take all those wool blankets and wool things out and not have those. You may have to have something lighter in there to keep you from getting overheated. Having the proper equipment during the proper time of the year is very important. Another thing, one of the last things we'll talk to you about is practice. Practice your plan. Get with your kids, make it a game. There's games out there that you could play with your kids and practice this stuff. Practice. Make it muscle memory. If we can do this and we prepare our families for the events that could occur and we practice it and it works and we save our families, we save our friends, and we're able to be in a safe location, this gives us the opportunity to succeed with these plans. I know this has been a 30,000-foot view of planning. We hope to do more of these lessons in the future. But the idea is start preparing for something. What are we preparing for? Understanding what we're preparing for and moving into the future with a plan of what we're going to do. We've gone through a lot these last 2 years, seeing a pandemic, living through the pandemic, and understanding that the pandemic is a major issue. We believe this is just the beginning. This is something we all need to prepare for and what we're going to do to keep moving forward. If there's any questions, any concerns, please feel free to reach out to us here at the EMA and we will help you. We have pamphlets on how to prepare for tornadoes. What do we do when a tornado strikes? What happens during thunderstorms, blizzards, snow emergencies? What do we do to help get kids involved in a planning session? Anything we can do to help you guys prepare is what we want to do. So again, if there's any questions, any concerns, feel free to reach out to us again here at the EMA, and we will help you with whatever we can do. Thank you again for your time. I know this has been short and I know it's been a very broad stroke, but we will be planning more of these sessions to go through and help everyone understand preparing in a more in-depth session later on. Thank you again for your time and look forward to working with you in the future.